Hey guys, so welcome to our quick little bonus video. I had a lot of questions today in lesson 1 about what is the best operating system to develop for and how should we start our journey. So I'm going to talk about this a bit more in this lesson and fill you in all the different details. So a lot of you guys out there may think that a mobile app is a mobile app, but that is actually not true. There's quite a few variations out there. So as you can see, guys, native app development. Let's talk about native app development versus hybrid app development, and then go on to Apple versus and iOS versus Google, Android, Google versus and Android. So there are actually two types of apps, guys. There are native and hybrid apps. So native apps are built specifically for one platform. So Android, iOS, or Windows mainly. There is BlackBerry, but it's a very small market share. And then hybrid apps, guys, they are cross-platform. So they are built to work on all of these different platforms. So now you may think that it's a great idea to go out and build a hybrid app, but I'm actually going to stop you right there and give you a few reasons why not to go with hybrid app developments. So native apps, guys, because they are developed for specifically one platform, it means that they are able to interact directly with the Android system or the iOS system, as opposed to hybrid apps, which are developed using web languages such as HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And because of this, they're not able to interact directly with either the iOS system or the Android system. And what this means is they have to be wrapped up in a sort of container which then interacts with the system. And now this leads to problems. So we've seen native and hybrid apps, and native apps are platform specific. So this leads to some problems, guys, because it means that they're not interacting with the system directly. They tend to be outperformed by native apps. And the reason for this is that native apps have better graphics, they have better functionality, they have higher processor speed, and they lead to a better user experience because they are interacting directly with the Android or iOS system. So they are designed specifically for them, and they are able to take advantage of that fact that they are so seamlessly intertwined. So it is in graphics, functionality, processor speed, and user experience. So with graphics, say for instance shadows and things like that, with native apps you don't really have to specify if there's going to be a shadow, depending on the version you're using. So you would have to specify that in a hybrid app, and that can add to a lot more designing. While with functionality, some functions on phones and devices, especially the most recent ones, you can't access them with a hybrid app because they are reliant on third-party libraries to access that functionality, and sometimes those libraries just haven't been released yet, or they may be quite old and not the best and not work on as many devices as you would like. And then processor speed as well can be a bit slower because, as I've said, hybrid apps are wrapped up in a container, which means that they're going to have to interact with the container, which interacts then with the Android or iOS system. And then all of this means that generally a native app provides a better user experience, and user experience is what it's all about, and I talk a lot more about that in the advanced course for an entire semester actually. So user experience is hugely important. So let's have a look at Apple versus Google. So Apple do iOS and Google do Android. So which one should you start off developing for? So how do I become a native app developer for Apple versus Google? Well, to become a developer for Android, all you have to download is Android Studio, and that is available, or MIT App Inventor, and that is available cross-platform. So you can use that on any device, and whether it be a Mac, a PC, or a laptop, while MIT App Inventor is available through your browser? Well, if you wanted to become an iOS developer, first of all, you do need a Mac. It is essential that you have a Mac, which are quite expensive, and you need to have Xcode, and Xcode does not run on Windows PCs or Linux PCs. And then will you be able to publish it? So publishing an Android app takes a lot less effort than publishing an iOS app. There are quite stringent review guidelines with an iOS app, and that doesn't mean you should be stringent, not be stringent when developing your Android app, because the better your app is, the more users will download it. But it means that your app, if you're developing on iOS, can be rejected, which means that you won't get an app up there, while Android will publish it. And as well, there is a few figures I will show you now in a minute. And are there guidelines? There certainly are, and what devices are available. So let's take a look at that. And then 75% versus 25%. So that's 75% of the market share with Android versus 25% with Apple. So how do I become a developer? Well, as I've said, you need a Mac for iOS, you need to download Xcode, and a developer license costs $99 per year, while with Android it only costs $25 once to get your developer license. So will I be able to publish it? They have a very stringent review process at iOS, which can be a good thing, but at the same time it means they could reject your app for a reason that may be minor. There is no review process with Android except to make sure that it is suitable for the general public. And they do have very stringent guidelines for design with iOS, aesthetics and functionality, which is something that you have to follow very closely. And while with Android, it's material design, and we'll talk more about material design in later lessons, which I think is a very interesting design concept. And if you want to learn more, check out material.io, which is a brilliant website with loads of information there. So, as I've said, guys, 75% versus 25%. That is the market share between Android and iOS. So, if you're developing for Android, you will be hitting a way larger market share. So, as you can see there, the devices available for iOS are only iPhone and iPads, while Android there's more than 24,000 devices available. So that's why